Welcome. I am so honored that you are joining us tonight and that I get to talk to one of my favorite people, Jake Allen. I'm so excited we get this time. And just to give you a lay of the land for tonight, I'm Pam Hoelzle. I'm the CEO and founder of Entrepreneur Ready. Entrepreneur Ready runs the How to Start Something Step by Step online program to take ideas to income. And we help individuals like you build confidence, get real results, and start producing income to get financially to your own goals. And so tonight, we've worked with about 1,300 people in the last couple of years, and Jake is one of our alum. And so we're going to take time tonight to hear about his amazing story. Jake, you're going to tell us so much about Breakthrough Fit. But I'm going to say just a few things about it. So, appointment-based personal training and small group facilitation, right?
Yep.
All about dedicated to the whole idea of equitable access. And I just love your mission of adaptive and inclusive fitness,
Yeah.
and that this is how you empower people to live their best lives. So, so excited about that. All
Yeah.
right. So our goal tonight is a couple things. We have a couple surprises we're going to break out, but also we want this to be like Jake and I are having an intimate conversation about getting way down in the weeds of that place from idea through testing, building, and just his whole roadmap. Because now he's a 7-digit business, but there were days where he was just had a dream. And so I just really want to have that conversation with you. And my goal is to show up like I don't know a lot of it, and
Mhm.
then and just really listen. So let's go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, thank you so much for having me. And of course, I do have to start out also just giving a shout out to my business partner, Steve, who, I'm going to be speaking a lot to things that really go back that led me to when I first started my journey with Entrepreneur Ready and this idea. And Steve has his backstory that had brought him into this moment as well. And then the rest just flourished forward. But yeah, it was an interesting start because we started during the pandemic. I was working in health and wellness, and thank you for that wonderful intro referencing what our main mission being inclusive fitness, because I inherited an adaptive fitness program back in the day when I used to work on the Upper East Side in Manhattan, and that led to education, and I just always had a passion for serving that community. So it's a community and a demographic that I continued to work with in commercial wellness. But I always was like, there's got to be more than just working for large corporations, giving more hours to make more money, less time at home. When you have a goal of wanting to start a family, of doing something that is really impactful to the community. And when the pandemic hit, there's more to that backstory, but and Steve's backstory. But Steve and I started working out in our garage together, and
That was the
started
new
to.
gym, right?
That was
Everyone's
the new
garage.
gym. It was Pam. It was like the black market of fitness. People were fighting over weights. You couldn't even find a weight.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
God forbid
Because
now I can
everybody,
get someone to get off their couch and work out. But that was the only thing to do. People were home. Everything was shut down. And like it was a scary time. I mean, I don't know. What was your when COVID hit? What was going through your head?
yeah, I
Right?
I get kind of anxious in times like that. Right.
Yeah.
I was
So
not going to the gym.
yeah, well, in my head, I'm like, so this thing has to come to an end. And I had started my own LLC for my private clients, and then added more. I just said we're gonna get on Zoom, and we're just gonna. Well, it was Skype first because Zoom was blowing up at the time, and we're gonna figure it out. Now, the woman that had helped me start my LLC initially, the first one, now there's a few, and we'll get into that later. She told me about this program that I could access through the county, called Entrepreneur Ready, which I think you might be familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and even though Steve and I had already been like, we need to create a gym that's inclusive and accessible to all abilities, but is still a regular gym with regular weights because we just see people, right? We want to highlight people when we hear people
Yep,
with disabilities and all that kind of stuff. It's just people.
just people.
Um, and I started to look into it. I was watching some of the videos on there and I was like, huh, I'd like to say I know it all, but I really don't. I've never started a business before, but I know I need to do this. And if I'm going to do it, I know it's going to take time, effort, sacrifice, and I want to do it the right way. So when we decided we were going to drive forward and not look back, we're going to swim off the shore as far as we can go. I was like, I'm going to deep dive into this. And even though we had this business plan made, which honestly, we only really used a small portion of it. Um, when I dove into the program in that very first step, the thing that resonated with me most were these activities that led back to this sweet spot, aligning goals, passion, purpose, income, all of these things. And I think that they could all coexist, right? You could be impactful while making money. I mean, I know plenty of people that just show up to collect a paycheck because they need it to live, but they're not fulfilled in their jobs and what they're doing, which unfortunately is, I think, a lot of the working force out there, which is why jumping into this program was so impactful because it makes you realize, like, no, these things can coexist, and I can be impactful in doing things that I love and connecting with people and growing community and relationship. So
Yeah.
it really helped me pull back and just pause from these ideas going through our heads to align myself with the purpose, the mission, and the vision. And side by side, Steve was doing that in his own right as we were starting to formulate what this was going to be.
So
Um,
right there,
yeah,
so talk to me about the motivation. Just clarify right then, because I don't know if it was right after or it was right in the middle still of COVID, right? We were running some free accelerators to answer your question earlier. We were running free online accelerators and paid,
yeah,
right? Because people needed help. Um,
yeah.
what were the primary motivations to start
To
this business?
to
What
start
was
this
driving
business,
you to start the business?
I mean, you want like raw Jake? I was just fed
I would
up
just
with,
say honest, Jake.
yeah, I was just, I have obviously we have goals and ambitions for our career and stuff, but we also have personal goals and things that we want to do. And I don't think that we were made to work a gajillion hours a week and still live paycheck to paycheck. And then when you get a promotion, you get maybe a little bit more, but it's also, at least where I was, performance based. So that meant you had to work more, but everything did fall on you. Right now, everything does fall on me, but I know that I'm fulfilled by it. There, it's like you hit a certain point. It's like, well, the only way to grow then is to relocate, is to shift into a role that's not aligned with my passion. And is the whole point just about money? I mean, the world revolves around money. And I'm like, but it's so much more than that. It's about people, it's about impact. And I had this heart and this passion to try to make a difference with a skill set that I had in a community that I saw was very underserved and a lot of people put in a box. And I'm like, the last time I checked, I have two kids with autism. They're teenagers. That one runs with his regular track team, and they both do 30-inch burpee box jumps together. Where any one of us on here might have busted our knee and need to do a corrective
Might
exercise
not be able
program
to do 30 burpees.
alongside their physical. So it's really just like I've worked with so many people in my fitness career, probably over 1,000. I've taught to rooms of 100 people, and I don't say that as like a
Yeah.
as a flex or anything. I just say 15 years in the fitness industry, you meet a lot of people. Every single one of them moves and communicates different, whether you're neurotypical or neurodiverse. And I also saw when I worked with neurodiverse individuals how people responded when they were in the room and maybe made a funky noise.
So your passion and then taking back control and thinking,
Yes.
hey, if there's a way to increase income, I want to do it on what's important to me and my way. Okay, so talk to us a little bit about this. So you guys write a business plan and
Hmm.
then you join the program. And are you
Hmm.
both working side? Just give everybody a picture. What are you doing right then? And then take us to the next part. I mean,
Yeah.
how are you're making money doing something then? You've got a ramp. Like we all talk about, don't quit your day job, right? We all want that ramp.
Yeah. So it's kind of twofold. I'm lucky that I married a teacher, not originally for this purpose, but it's an added benefit that teachers get great benefits. And we talked and she was on board, and I was asked to come back as the pandemic was winding down into a higher position. And I was like, I felt so convicted that I needed to do what I was going to do that I was like, we'll live off one salary, we'll figure it out. And I failure just simply won't be an option. Now, to the point of like that was a benefit that I had that we were
Because you had
comfortable
your
doing.
wife. What was your co-founder was still
So now,
working his job, right?
yeah, so Steve was working in hospital administration, and he didn't quit his job. It's all a blur now, but I would say until almost a year in, until we were able to match the income that he was making or close to it so that his life stayed like this, he didn't
Like
quit.
no personal financial risk until the point
Exactly.
it was here.
Yeah. And we have two really cool skill sets, really cool complementary skill sets in what we do because he's very analytical. He's the CFO. He is really good with numbers. He has a big background in finance, whereas I have this whole background in fitness education and adaptive communities and the visionary and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very complementary skill set that we both share
Yeah.
that work towards the greater good. But it hit a point where it was like, hey, Steve, I'm one person and can only train so many people. And it was just the two of us at the time. What do you think about getting certified as a trainer and adding another hat for the time being so that we can continue
So
to
he
drive?
became the second trainer.
He became the second trainer. And all of my private clients, I didn't charge people during the pandemic. I believe, I always say to give is to gain, but a great quote that comes from this program is give, 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 ask. I was like, we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like with this pandemic. Let's just keep moving. We need to do something to get our minds off of the craziness that's going on in the world at that moment. And then eventually, when things started to reopen, we started to charge and it was all fair and reasonable and such. And then it just all went
At that
straight to the
point, you
business.
guys are training out of the garage. Is that where this is all happening?
That point, I was training out of the garage. When we got into it, but before we got into a physical space, I started to put that all into the business. And it was after we got into the physical space that Steve had then become a trainer. Um, but as we were looking for a space, we let that money accrue from my personal clients that were now going into the business. So
So
that way, when uh,
So take me back. So I love that, like that, because I didn't ever know that about that. Steve ended. You ended up getting him to be a trainer. Of course you did. Okay, so take us back. So you wrote the business plan, your real early stage.
yeah.
Then you get into the program. Talk about what started to happen. Some of those key milestones on your journey of going from I know I can be a personal trainer, right? But this
Hmm.
vision of this gym, how you really built it.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back first and foremost to the why and the sweet spot, and then going into what are our services and offerings going to be. And we had a lot of ideas of like we could do virtual, we could do these little pods, we could do um, our adaptive group classes, our adaptive training, we could do a lot of things. We could sell supplements and have a little shop in there. And the program, and I believe it was you that told me specifically on one of the live coaching calls, which one of the biggest benefits is having that accountability and that live coaching going through and getting feedback in the moment is like, listen, you could do a whole other canvas for one of these service buckets, but focus on the main thing. And when I was like, this is the main thing that I need to focus on, our adaptive fitness, and this is our mission and this is our purpose and some other things will fall into place, simplify it down, then boom, we knew our direction. And then
And
from
was
there,
the adaptive that was the first, we're talking about your first product or service. So that was
hmm,
adaptive do I have this right that you were going to do adaptive groups, which
Yeah.
was
So
different than the one-on-one? That was the first thing, right? And then
yes,
we could figure out the cost and the price on just that one thing.
exactly. The pivot was that what ended up becoming most prevalent was the one-on-one, but we have our groups and we kind of built the foundation of our group schedule and built around that.
Hmm.
And actually, as we speak, we're trying to revamp now the Ignite program, which are our adaptive small groups. But nonetheless, it was focus in on your one first main driver, nail that down, and then you can come back to it. And then the next part of the program, which is to me my favorite, and this could be utilized in any phase of business, I think, is these curiosity questions and discovery. Like, is there validation out there for what I want to do and what I want to offer? And when we started to talk to one parent, led us to another, led us to another, we just were like, yeah, we got to do this. Um, because the
So,
validation's there.
and for people that maybe haven't been through the process, this whole customer discovery. So you're out talking to parents about the pains and problems and challenges they're having right now.
Yeah.
And what did you learn there? Because it's always interesting. We think we know it all, but were there any blind spots or things that came out that became critical to your success?
We talked to so many people since then that
Yeah, right.
I'm trying to think like what we learned then versus what we've learned in the middle and what we're learning now. But number one, I think what we learned is just how unique and different each individual is. The people that have access to government funding versus people that don't. Something that we had learned was that for people who have government funding, services need to be offered to the general public. And therefore pricing needs to be in line with that. Everything needs to be as if it's to anyone, which was right in line with our goal to be an inclusive
Equitable.
personal training center, right?
And did you find that during curiosity conversations? Did you find out that there was whole funding source from the government for your services? Did that
Yeah.
come out of those conversations with the parents?
So I kind of known about it because I would submit invoices to two of my clients, but they would do it on their own, like submit for a reimbursement and things like that. But as we started to dig deeper, I started to realize like, oh, I could submit it directly to them. And that's not something that we ever did until later on when the business was open and there was a lot of people doing that because part of our goal was like, you know, and this is another pivot based on curiosity conversations and getting to know our audience. Um, how can we make it as easy as possible for families, for parents, so that if if they don't have to do a single thing and an individual can get services, boom, done. Right? I want to make it as easy for the customer as possible. And hey, if they don't have it, cool. We accept out of pocket, right? Um, because we're an open to the public regular gym. Um, but then as the conversation continued, we realized like there's other needs and gaps, which made a goal, which that goal then came to fruition maybe a year and a half ago. But it was to make a nonprofit where people that either couldn't afford health and wellness services in Westchester County and also didn't have access to government funding, which we also learned could be like a 2-year process. Um,
So you're
there would be
out,
this other bucket that they could access funds for.
right? So your journey right now is he's working your job, you're working the business, you're in the program. You guys are out talking to all the parents, trying to de-risk of what's really wrong, what's
Yeah.
really happening, then what happens. So you get like you've talked to hundreds of parents now. What's happening now?
So now, because also at the same time we're asking not just curiosity questions to families and for the service, but we're talking to commercial real estate agents and we're gonna go see spaces and we're gonna ask questions. They always say, "What's the cost of an education?" I would say probably a lot more than it costs to go to college. But it's real life experience, and when you and honestly, asking questions are free, right? That's I always tell people now. nothing is solidified until you sign something, but like go ask questions, see spaces. That's how you learn. And then that'll lead you to what's right for you and for your business. So um, we had access to some people that were attorneys with business law for small businesses, employment. Even right now, we had to shift and pivot as we're expanding for some employment stuff. And we have a client who works in employment law, and it's just like, hey, do you mind if we pick your brain for 15 minutes? And if we end up furthering that relationship, cool, let's further it. So so then it was, how do we get the space and ask the right questions to the right people now that we have the validation from this other, you know, grouping of people who want to utilize this service to make it a reality. Then it's, how do you get funding? So it's through these curiosity conversations, adding layers and layers and layers to that.
Great. So then when you started to get, so it's like people say net, the whole thing of getting out in the market before you've started, right, gets you all these connections. It's all this practice skill and it's all this learning, right, that starts to take the risk down and the confidence up, or it doesn't. And you think, okay, this isn't going to work, right? Or you start getting all these green lights. So you're
Yeah.
getting all these green lights and you're starting to figure out, okay, looks like we have what did you do when did you go back to the parents with an offering? Talk to us about, some people call it prototype. We call it prototyping in the program, but it's anytime you take the offer before you've spent any money back to see if you can get any kind of commitments and validation.
Yeah. So when did we get them to the offerings? Well, I already had a book of clients, neurotypical, neurodiverse, kind of equally spread. And as things were getting back to normal and we didn't have a space yet, we would just start. And I know we'll get to this later on, but we're right now experiencing some delays getting our second location open. That hasn't stopped us. We're going to organizations and utilizing their space until we can get into our new space. Like when we have momentum and a want, we're going to figure out a way to service it, because that also helps de-risk it. The fact that we just checked off that Rockland is generating income and Rockland is still under construction, pretty cool. That gives me confidence. It helps me de-risk it from the front back, and I'm using the same foundations of what I did in the program the first time. From what's the mission, what is the curiosity conversations that I need to be asking, and now just maybe doing it in a different county, and then explaining to people the prototype. Hey, let's jump on a call. I'm going to tell you exactly how it works, the options that we have to make it as easy as possible for you. And even though we're happy to come to you, your home, this space, you can come to the Westchester gym. We'll do a consultation and we can project out our path forward.
You brought up something that's really critical. Like, so many people think they need a lot more capital to get started. They're concerned about the confidence, right? They're concerned that they don't know a lot about business, but they think they need a lot more money. What surprised you about those beliefs, as you, in terms of how do those relate to what you found on your journey?
Yeah. I mean, to put it bluntly, like I think that's just a limiting belief people put out there based on what they see in the world. And I don't necessarily like to follow everything I see in the world, especially because the world's crazy. Um, but Steve and I put in the smallest amount of our own money, and then my clients that were in existence, right? Um, we were patient to let the money, no matter how big or small it was, from my personal clients to accrue over time and not spend any of it, as we also figured out. And this was another step. I can't remember exactly which one, but one of the steps in the program was like, what are the sources of income? What are my recurring monthly expenses going to be? And I'm not just talking about like now. I'm thinking like when I'm open, and even though I don't have those hard numbers, all right, Google, I guess now it could be like Chat GPT. You know, what's the average Con Edison bill for a this many square foot sized building on a monthly basis, average. All right, let's just use that as a ballpark. We know what our rent's going to be because we're about to sign a lease. What's our operating system going to be? We've got these three options. Let's figure out which one we might want to go with and go with the mid-range price. And then we would make high, low, and middle projections
Yep.
of what we need to achieve these numbers.
So what you're saying is this whole process of you can actually work out all this rough draft as you get out there and
Yeah,
separate the facts from the fiction and get more people around you as you're going through this, what I would call the de-risking process, right?
yeah,
Then all of a sudden you start saying, oh, that's a fact, that's a fact, that's a fact. Oh, we have
hmm
no idea on this one. Can we find an expert or something to be in it? Or is
yeah,
there somebody in the program, or is there one of our coaches, or is there somebody in our network now that can
yeah,
solve, that can bring more data to this? Or do we just have to say it's going to be 80% risk on that one variable, but you can get complete financial projections to take a look at the sustainability before you invest a dollar. You can get clients signing MOUs and LOIs. That's what the people in our programs do. That's
yeah,
how you de-risk it, right?
yeah. And also, there's something, speaking about de-risking, like it's one thing to write it out on paper, especially from a singular mind that's in it and might be overstressed and wearing a lot of hats. Because to anyone that might be listening, like if you deep dive out, like you will get stressed, you're going to have fears, you're going to have anxieties. And when you have access to coaches who, you know, do this for a living, see a lot of different types of business models and stuff come through, you know, even now, if I have to make a difficult decision, I go to my leadership team and I'm like, guys, I'm a little stuck on this and I just need to get it out of my brain and into your ears because I trust you all. And like, let me know if I'm crazy. Let me know if there's a better solution to this. So, like, by saying, here's how I'm de risking it, what I'm projecting, and what I think I need to do, coaches take a look at it. And then for you guys to look at it and ask me questions back. And I remember one of the coaches asked me a question and I was like, um, I'm stumped. And she was just like, all right, cool. Figure it out. We are going to follow up and I'll be more helpful that time, but I want to see what you come up with in this stumped phase. And I'm like, but it made me start to think outside of the box a little bit around what I was now looking at on paper. And that's really one of the big things about being in this program, following these steps, and just it was very methodical along the way. And as I went not you as I went deeper, you know, certain things started to happen at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
So
it was
tell us about that. So things you're in the program, and I think you signed the lease and ended up going after a small loan from Community Capital.
correct.
So like take us through that, the next things that happened for you guys.
Yeah, so we got the lease. You know, we were told no by every bank, every possible source of funding we could think of. And Steve and I were just like, all right, well, we're gonna figure out a way. But when you find the right person that's helpful, you know, a smaller bank in Westchester put us in touch with Community Capital, who goes through the SBA, which you don't know until you know. And you know, we'll circle back to this probably a little bit later when we talk about location number two. Um, it was like, well, what do we need? What would that monthly payment be? And then add that into our, you know, projected budget, right? Um, so we were able to get a $50,000 loan, and that basically half of it went to securing the location deposit. Some of it went to a little bit of new equipment. We were using what I had in my garage, things I collected during the pandemic through Facebook Market. And like, believe it, I have like a whole leg press in my garage.
Right.
But it's amazing when people just want it out and they have a commercial grade leg press. I rented a truck, I showed up, I got it out, I saved a ton of money for that leg press. And we started with what we had. Now we've got some newer, fancier equipment in there, but we didn't buy it until we could, you know, de risking from the back. A lot of people think they need to do it up front and they can't work backwards. They're worried about what people might think, how it might come across. Create raving fans. Be a human and let them follow your journey. It hits a lot harder, especially when you come out on the other side.
Yeah. So now you've got a signed lease and then you guys open. Talk to
Yes.
us about something. And you put you put a non-paid advisory team around you. I know why you were in the program. I don't know how that grew, but talk to us about, because that's the scary step, right? You've taken the cash now. Talk to us about the next couple things that happen and then
Yeah. So, I mean, we got a great landlord. Two times now we've got great landlords. But he gave us the keys like 2 weeks early, and I can't make this up. The space we got, we didn't expect to get because we were looking at another space and that fell through and it wouldn't have been right. So like God's plan, not mine. But we ended up in this space. It was previously a Snap Fitness that unfortunately didn't make it during the pandemic. They could have left the gym equipment in there for us, would have been nice, but they didn't. Um, Rightfully so. They didn't know we were coming. But, it had the bones of what we needed, and we had to do some cleaning up and make it ours, but a lot of the stuff was there.
okay.
And we got in the next day. We brought in as much as we could from the garage. We started cleaning and we started training. I would train. Steve would put something together.
Immediately,
We
right?
would, yeah,
Immediately.
as soon as
Generating
possible.
revenue, generating revenue.
Exactly. Even right now, again, just alluding to this second location, it's still under construction, but we finally got a gas meter in. And that gas meter was crucial because the heat needs to be on for 2 weeks to lay down flooring. And everyone keeps saying, so when are you opening? Do you have an open date? My answer is we'll be open when we're open. Like if the floor is down and I can get bodies in there, we have plenty of equipment to bring over. We'll service, we'll keep building. We'll service, we'll build. I'm not going to throw a big grand opening party with a DJ and stuff until it's pristine, but we'll start.
We could generate revenue. Yeah. So the thing is, we start when we start de-risking. And the first time you were out in customer discovery, the first time you were actually out taking action, you didn't just have hope or positive thinking, but we had you engaged in market activities to start building and testing,
Yes.
right? It's just so powerful that we start way before we spend the first dollar, before we sign any leases. So now talk to us about your first month. You get to the end of your first month
Well,
and
real before the first month, I do just have to say, because I owe a lot of credit to Entrepreneur Ready for this. It's one thing to go out and have curiosity conversations, and now it's, second nature. It's another thing to go out, have curiosity conversations, and then have to, as an assignment, because you're being held accountable by other people, to then physically go write down and answer specific things that you learned. And then bring it back into the program so that it could be reviewed and then discussed. So it it's one thing to have a conversation to be out of sight, out of mind, or like, oh, I don't remember, but that follow up and follow through is powerful.
yeah. And it's like what we see, like everyone deserves a great coach. Like right? Sometimes we don't invest in ourselves, like we invest, everybody, oh, a pro athlete, right? Certain people should have the best, or they should
Yeah,
have accountability, or they should have community, but do my dreams get
yeah.
that?
And
It's
listen, I'll
so,
even, to keep names out. I have a client who wrote a book and is an executive coach and works with some high profile companies and individuals. And one of those CEOs, I am lucky to be able to pick his brain from time to time. But there's a reason why he has a executive coach, not just for the team, but for himself and for his partners. It's like, hey, every trainer needs a trainer. Yeah, trainers train with other trainers to get a different perspective, to get a fresh set of eyes. It's valuable, and I think the people that can throw their ego to the side to acknowledge that find the most success.
yeah, and not having to go it alone. Like entrepreneurship is kind of lonely. It's lonely as you build things, and
Hmm.
especially with the uncertainty in our world right now, it feels like it. Many people feel unstable financially, but definitely like we're back in kind of the pandemic uncertainty. And
Yep.
with what's happening on the AI front and jobs, I just think like the power of community, like being a part of a community that wants you to win, then
Hmm.
creating your own community and your own network. And this, like you said, give, 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 it creates this tidal effect for
Yeah.
more success.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
us
A
about the
thousand
first
percent.
month and then the benchmarks, because you're now like on your second location, right?
Yeah.
You're 80% of businesses never get over 100K. 80% of businesses never um, hire anyone. I think only 5% or 5% of businesses ever get to 1 million. You've gone over all those things. So there's so many gems we can learn from you. Talk about the first month, and then I want to hear some of the big milestones for you that you would share with people that are thinking about they have a dream or they want to start this, but they just feel like they have some challenges.
Yeah. So first month, we were green. We were at a break even, and that was
It
because
just
we did.
almost never happens, everybody. I know you know this, but I just got to say it because he's super humble. Like, I remember you calling us and going, and we're like, whoa, yeah, boom.
But we de-risked it from the front, and we knew that failure wasn't an option. Um, the cool thing about doing something that you're invested in so much, and I don't mean financially invested in, I mean many versions of that word, but because you have an ownership and you take pride in your work now, like like this is my baby, I can't fail. And there's a lot of things riding on this now. Um, so yeah, we de-risked it, and the timeline lines up where there was enough money accrued over the months that we were out looking and working on this program and talking to people, and that's all the synergy of things happening at the same time. Um, so that was month one.
So how did you guys start getting client? What was customer acquisition like? Because you also had some non-traditional ways you got clients. You were really guerrilla marketing. And talk to us about then, like you would hit seven digits within 3 years, but
Yeah,
you grew each year. Your team right now, you have how many? How big is your team right now?
we've got 15 about to be 16 with a potential for Rockland already.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of businesses out there that like are a hustle and not as personal, and it's like, oh hey, pay X amount of dollars for marketing or to join this platform, and there's no personal touch points or things like that. Yeah, a lot of people want to take your money. And I'm going to tell all of you, like, you're going to work damn hard for your money. Don't be so quick to give it away, and don't be so quick to believe everything that you hear. Um, I think that there's a lot of marketing companies out there where it's like pay for this advertising, and the world says, oh, you have to do paid advertising. That I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say next because it
Did you
was
build
gonna.
Breakthrough Fit on non-paid advertising?
We built it on word of mouth. I do not believe, look, our version of paid advertising, I think, is yeah, I think our is sponsorships at events that we think have strategic overlap with us, where there's synergy to us being there and supporting them, and that's also a give back too. But it is also a form of marketing. Um, Tabling at events, they say how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, or how do you build a house brick by brick? One event after another event after another event. You meet people, you take pictures with them, you do something to make them feel good, you make a memorable experience, you follow up with them, follow up, follow through what you guys do in the program, what we do at the gym. Um, you don't need the masses to come in at once because also then you go systems overload. Slow, methodical. So it's like when we hit milestone, when we hit, I always say it's weird to say, but like when we hit seven figures, it was like, well, we were already close. And then the next month we knew, all right, we just need a couple more people. And then we're on pace for that. And then we just have to sustain this for the year now. But every month kept increasing little by little, right? So when people ask us these questions, like Steve and I are always like, Steve actually said to me very specifically, I remember we're sitting, um, I don't remember where we went to another gym to like get a workout in, and they had a hot tub and pool, and so we were just chilling, talking, and we finally had a quiet moment. And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "I always thought, what would it feel like when we hit that $1 million mark?" And he's like, "Didn't really feel that magic moment that I thought I'd feel." I was just like,
It has been a lot of work.
"Oh, cool. Back to work. Let's keep going." There's still work to be done. And I know that's not, it should be celebrated if you do that and hit it. Like, we're weird, I know. You should celebrate your milestones. I set little goals for myself, like, hey, if we do this, there's one thing that I want to buy that I've wanted to buy. I'm gonna wait till I hit that goal and then I'm gonna get it. It was a Movado watch. Um, one of the more inexpensive ones, because some of them are too expensive and I can't get on board with spending that much money on a watch. But yeah,
Okay, I know we're going to go to questions soon and then go back, but I want you to really think about if you were talking to someone right now that's at that point, right? That they feel like they lack money or they're scared of the risk or they just don't feel like they know enough. So, what are some of the foundational things you would remind any human about their ability to do this? Like,
yeah. I would say for the same reason I took a risk on creating a brick and mortar, which I would say is a hard thing to do, is that the pandemic shut down the world, and I was kind of going banking on the fact that people crave human engagement, regardless of what happens in the world, regardless of the AI takeover, whatever it is. And what I
they're going
found
to
when I
want it
joined,
more. They're going to want it more, aren't
yeah,
they? Don't you
yeah.
feel?
And what I found when I joined Entrepreneur Ready, and I was so grateful for being pointed in this direction, was a community that came around me and supported me when my ideas were bad, when they were good. They helped me think them through. Like, you guys helped me think them through, right? You and your team. But not only was it the coaches on there, it was peers that where some working a full-time job, some already had a business that they started in existence for a year or had to make a pivot, that we could lean on. And some of them are services that we could utilize and vice versa, or collaborate or create a strategic partnership with. And um, it's, that to me is something that, instead of spending all this money on marketing, I would put my money there, because you can't put a price tag on community and accountability and building a network. Like, there's power in a network, um, and access to these people. So yeah,
And then just talk to me a little bit, and we'll go over. Rosie's got questions, but talk to me about the mental health part of being an entrepreneur. I mean, I have to laugh because I mean, there are days, right? There are
yeah.
days.
Um, That's one I can really go on a whole hour-long conversation
Okay.
separately, but I will say,
Another conversation.
it could be stressful, it could be hard, it can get in the way of personal relationships, it can get in the way of family. Um, and you just have to, at the end of the day, like, you're gonna have to go through it. But manage your time accordingly, find the things that can help you slow your mind, even if it's going to take a walk. I'm continuously trying to refine myself. Um, you know, even today, I took 15 minutes, just go with my AirPods in and listen to some music just to get some quiet. Um, reading different books that help me grow my leadership skills and things like that. Um, but yeah, just remember who you are.
Mm, mm. Go back to your sweet spot and your values, right? And your why. Oh yeah. All
And
right.
it,
Rosie has go ahead. Rosie
I
has
was
some
gonna say, and,
questions
and
for
it
us.
feels like if you take a day off, you're gonna fall back. But if you're at that point, take the day off. Nothing's gonna happen. Nothing's gonna change. Don't let that fear stop you from, like, taking care of yourself. If your cup's not full, you can't fill other people's cups. Okay, that's
Mhm.
my TED talk for the day.
All right. Rosie, thank
From our chat about how long you held on to your job in corporate fitness. while starting your gym, because I think that this is something that a lot of people struggle with, right? Is when do you jump full in, right? I think
Yeah.
some people jump too early and then put too much stress on their project, right? And then some people wait too long, right? And don't devote enough time.
Yeah. So in corporate fitness, it could be tricky. For me, I was already out of it because of the pandemic. I had the option to go back. I decided not to. Um, my partner, Steve, he was in, hospital admin. He worked until he was able to swap his incomes. And then it was, okay, I'm going to take that jump and go full time, right? Which again, risk, but big win at the same time. In corporate fitness, I would say to anyone who's looking to make that switch, just build your rapport and trust with people, see what you want to charge people and how you're going to do it, and add value to their service, and just make sure that you move respectfully and honestly as you transition away, because there could be, if you're at a commercial gym and you're leaving a commercial gym, you want to make sure you're doing it at the right time. I don't want to get in trouble for saying anything, but like non-competes exist, but like they're not that enforceable, but there are non-solicits and things like that. So like you never know when a relationship will come back full circle, and you never want to burn bridges along the way. So I would get your stuff down on paper, just like we said, the foundations are the foundations. Um, Figure out, you know, what your overhead might be month to month, what you're going to charge people, and what would be the right and respectful way to then transition to a private facility that you might be renting space from, or if you're going to open your own space, that's a whole other beast, but happy to connect offline.
Nice, thanks. Another question that came in was about people who have really limited hours during the week. So if someone only has like 5 hours in the week to start devoting to their project, what's one of the best ways to reduce risk fast? And then what's one thing you had tested sooner before scaling?
I would say this: if you only have 5 hours, be as efficient as you can with the time that you have. And if you do one thing to move the needle forward, you're winning. Um, I tell people with fitness goals, there's people who only have 1 day a week to work out. If you work out 1 day a week for an entire year, you will achieve a result. It might be a little bit slower than somebody who's working out 4 times a week, but consistency is key. So as long as you stay consistent and you follow up and you follow through and you have the people to hold you accountable, one little thing could set off a trickle effect that you don't even realize. One curiosity conversation can spiral out to 10 people reaching out to you. And then you have your time that you work on that. And then I'm sorry, Rosalie, what was the second part of that question?
What's one thing that you wish you had tested sooner before scaling, like I guess to your full to the gym?
In the beginning, I said yes to everything, and I wish I tested saying no more strategically,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. And I think that was because, all you see is like, I need income. I'll say yes to any partnership, even if it's mildly aligned. And I started to find that some of these partnerships were not aligned or should not have been a thing from the jump. And some of them were a pain to get out of. But I just wish there's the power of yes we hear a lot in the beginning, but I would say that there's a reason why a book called The Power of No exists.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rosie, before the next question, I
Power
just
of yes leads to the power of no.
Yeah.
Which
I
leads
wanna-
back to more yes.
I want to jump in and remind, because I said I would share a secret here tonight. Jake is going to be involved in this year's programs, but we are launching early registration for our second half of the year 2026 program. So Rosalie and the team will put that in the comment sections, and we have unlimited potential for our gold program, but for our coached program there are limited amount of seats. Those programs kick off again in April, So if you're interested about them, there's a link there. Or if you know someone that wants to be a Jake or wants to just get a side hustle or just wants to start breaking free to doing something more meaningful, get them over there. And we have info sessions and all kinds of things where they can learn more.
And that's going live tonight.
Yeah, early registration
Well,
tonight.
talk about a mic drop moment. That's exciting.
Yeah, because this is the first year, we've always been just in specific markets. And this is the first year we've decided the world is getting too crazy. We need to help a lot more people. So we're opening it up to any zip code until we're full.
Well, my
So,
zip code's about to go crazy signing up because I'm going to be letting them know. See, I got a few people here in Rockland and Westchester trying to start a business. And I've been telling them about this. So now I can just be like, yeah, just sign up.
yeah. So anyway, we're really excited. It's a big deal because we are not just going to be in one location, and you won't have to have a sponsor to come into the program. It's all going to be. We'll still have people that are sponsored from their government or a foundation, but then self-paid wherever you are in the nation, you can get in as long as we have seats.
Do it, everybody. Do it. So good.
All right,
So
next
cool.
question. Rosie.
Oh, sorry. We, with a full-time job, a family, and starting a new business, do you have any tips for balancing all that and staying sane? I know you said this is another conversation, but clearly there's a little interest there.
So acknowledge the fact that you are human. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have feelings. And listen, I found myself when I hit a rock bottom moment, taking advantage of a great thing that my church offers called soul care, um, which I guess you call it therapy, whatever you want. But it's really just another support where you can talk things out. For me, it's important that it's from a faith aspect, um, because that helps keep me grounded and bring me back to my roots and who I am. And I'm like the farthest from perfect human on the planet. Um, so yeah, give yourself grace and just know, like, if you fail and your time is getting out of your hand, just reassess. I need to make a change. Be upfront, honest, communicate, over communicate. And just know that if you do the work and do it accordingly, like, there will be an end in sight. Even right now, I know with the second location, as soon as I'm going to go into a couple months. I don't know, 2 months, 6 months of it's going to be grind mode, but I know everyone's on board. I'll have the support that I need at home. I got my team, and we'll get to the other side. And even still, like, well, I'm sure we could pay people to put things together. Like, Steve and I are planning to be economical and do what we did the first time.
Yeah.
Um,
One of the things
so
I'm going to jump in here, we do a lot on CEO habits, right? Like there's
yeah,
this idea of time blocks, but there's also this idea of reality, right? So one of the things I think is a big deal is just deciding how much can I block out and where. And then Jake, you just said something really important. In the program, we have everyone get an accountability partner, and
hmm
then they start building their support network, and they get commitments from friends and family members and accountability partners, because your dream matters to the people that you matter to. And so sometimes we have to go out and ask for support. Could you pick up the kids? Could you make dinner? Could you do this? And we start having, and so I think there's some CEO habits that we work on in the program to really start changing individuals to take control and agency over their time and making the asks and get everybody engaged in this becoming their reality.
yeah.
Rosie?
Yeah, let me pull see what else we have.
I,
Um,
I
what
see the
mis
one about moments of doubt. I'm sorry, but I don't know what one you see.
Yeah, I think we talked about that.
Okay.
Um, but what's a mistake that people make when they're trying to validate an idea?
Mm. It's very easy to get in your head, and it's funny because it's actually I had an answer that I withheld from following up with Pam there, but I think I'm going to share because it'll lead into this. Um, I think you could feel very alone being a CEO, whether you're starting something from scratch or you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. But I want everyone and anyone who's listening to this now or in the future, you are not alone. That is a lie. To me, it's a lie that comes from another place, a bad place. You don't have to listen to the lies when we get into our heads. It's easy to spiral, but take the validation and focus on truth. When you focus on the truth, that will blur out the lies that are going to cripple you and withhold you, because that'll just lead to fear. So going back to the exact verbiage of that question, Rosalie, was
Common mistakes on validating, like, you
yeah.
know,
So what are common mistakes with validation is like if someone says something, it could be true. If you hear it a second time, maybe true. If I start hearing it three or more times, I mean, look, we had thought about a second location for a while, and we had an opportunity to do one in Northern Westchester, and we're like, nah, it's not, the validation isn't there. When Rockland started coming up more and more and more, by the time it hit like the 10th time, we're like, I think we should start talking about this. And then we started talking about it to people, and then we're like, I think we gotta do this, right? So follow the trend of what the validation is and just use the truths that you're getting, and you know think about it slowly and methodically. All right, this is an interesting thought. Let me see if there's more to that, or if there's any overlap, half of this thought and half of that thought. um so yeah, I think that would answer that.
we have time for maybe one more, and then we can do maybe some wrap up comments from Jake. I'll say a few things, and we call it a night.
What do you validate first, pricing or demand or delivery?
Ooh, interesting one. um do I validate pricing, demand, or delivery? That's almost an economics question, because if I'm validating the demand, I think I could justify a price. The delivery also, you can't justify a price without the appropriate delivery. I think you have to validate all of them. I think you have to let the demand validate your price. I think in the beginning, be flexible. Like we in the beginning would offer discounts, this, that, whatever. I'd like don't want to sound weird when I say this, but we have so many things that we're focused on with like community events, and during the holidays, we like to do holiday give backs. And sometimes the team is like, we should do a promo. And I'm like, why? Like, I would love to do a promo, but I'm like, to start to create more marketing materials and this and that, I'm like, people are coming in the door. Do we need to do a promo right now? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? No. So they can all kind of validate each other, but also at the same time, um, does my service validate the price? You know, we're very big on customer service, going more than just a personal training session, creating rapport, um, giving homework to clients, generating a relationship. It's not just, oh yeah, come on in, and it's like, I'm not going to be on my phone and just count to 10. It's no, I want you engaged. I want you, if something's off here, how could I fix that? How could I tweak that? I want you to start like geeking out on these exercises. Especially with the demographic that we work with, you have to be engaged. And I think that also helps these trainers be even better trainers. Um, so I think that they all kind of piggyback off of each other. So I think first, demand justifies pricing, and pricing is justified by the quality of your delivery and service or product.
Boom. As we say around here, boom. Okay, so you get the mic for some final comments, and then I'll wrap it up.
All right.
Unless Rosie has more to say. All right,
All right.
Jake.
So me, final comments. Ooh,
Yeah.
let's see. if I had to sum this bad boy up, there's a lot of limiting beliefs out there, just a microcosm, like with the demographic that we work with. People see a person in a wheelchair with an assistive communicative device. Doesn't mean that they're not out writing poetry and working towards getting out of their chair and walking across the room, because I've seen it happen. Don't limit that. That's number one. Number two, you might see different CEOs, people trying to start a business, and it's very easy to get into your head and, oh, I wish I did it that way, or I wish I thought of that. Be uniquely and authentically you. Stay true to yourself. Get everything out of your head onto paper and get yourself in something like Entrepreneur Ready that will give you steps that you could follow. Take the guesswork out of it. Follow a methodical plan and have accountability. Have real people looking at real scenarios with you so you could create something real to give back to people that want what you're giving. And if you do it slow and methodically, one step at a time, you'll look back. To me, this is all a fever dream that I haven't woke up from yet, and I don't think I will until Rockland's maybe open. I don't even know, because we said that, once before, and we still, just stay in it, stay present. Presence, I think, lacks a lot. And just focus on giving and being you. Get it out of your head, build accountability behind you, get in on this program. It's so cool that like this used to be offered to just one county at first, and then in a few counties, but now it's accessible to everybody. And it's been such an integral part of my growth. I've generated friendships, a support network, peers that have started their own businesses, some that I've utilized myself. And it's just something really cool. And then when you look back, you're like, wow, I'm glad that I took this jump and did it. And then you'll be here doing this.
Congratulations. We're so excited about your journey, Jake. And I would say to people right now that you just really have to listen to what's whispering inside of you, because that's your truth. And then you have to get around people that have been there and done it and can see and know that you can do it. It's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time and work. And if you don't have a lot of capital right now, well, then you bring a non-capital intensive product or service to the market. You come with a service because you have skills. Anyone can start anything if they want it bad enough, and if they get themselves in the right environments where they have the support and accountability. So I hope to see you in the accelerator in April. I'll be there. Jake will be over there as one of our accelerators, coming in as a guest. And if you know anyone that is working on making 2026 the year where they go after their dreams and they create a side income, they start a business, they become the next Jake, send them over to the link. We'd love to talk to them. We'd love to support them. And most importantly, if you are here tonight and you got dreams, in the next 24 hours, my challenge to you is take massive action. Do something. Do something. Get it out of your head and start taking action, because hope is belief and action, and that changes our lives. And you and I and Jake and Rosalie and everybody out here that we know, we are the people that are going to make the future better than it is today. All of us. But we have to take massive action. We have to take back our power. And we have to start things, create things, make things, and stay in community. So thank you for being here tonight. We're going to be doing this on Thursday, sharing alum stories and hopefully inspiring you to take massive action and design a life you love. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Have a great night.
My body just like this. I don't know why, but I feel like